All right. I think we're rolling.
Okay.
So, yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another installment
We're
of
back, baby, for another
Deadbox podcast, baby.
I don't even remember what episode this is.
I believe this might be episode 5.
Whatever episode it is, honestly,
Yeah.
I'm just happy that we're still here, that we're still doing another Deadbox podcast,
Yeah.
because I don't know about you, but I'm having a lot of fun doing
Yeah.
all these.
And again, as always, thank you guys for bearing with us. This is definitely
This is in the works.
on the simpler side, but yes, we're still planning to invest more into the podcast, obviously, and your guys' viewership
Definitely helps.
Definitely helps me justify to our bosses that investing more into the podcast thing. But it's something that we really actually enjoy doing.
You know
we love
what?
doing
I
this.
also shout out to all the viewers of the Deadbox podcast so far. I don't know if you saw the last one was probably the best view or the most viewed podcast we've ever done in a long time.
100%. Yeah. So I guess taking pictures of cool airsoft replicas on the thumbnail really helps. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Who'd have thunk that would have worked?
But hey, we're just two airsofters sitting in the dead box waiting for the next game.
Waiting for the next round to go.
Yeah. But today's going to be a very interesting topic, actually. We were talking about this because I guess it's in the spirit of, as you might have known lately, around this time of year, a lot of new airsoft products have been dropping.
Yeah, left and right.
Yeah. And at the time of recording this podcast, the long-awaited Lancer Tactical Gen 4 is finally here.
Yes, sir. The Lancer Tactical Gen 4s, Zion Arms Mark 2s.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And, of course, even Specna has been dropping some new stuff.
Yeah, especially Specna. They've been really hyping up their
Prime
Amazon Prime?
series.
Yeah,
their
Amazon Prime.
their Amazon Prime.
Or Drink Prime.
Drink Prime.
Yeah, so, hey, I mean, there's a ton of really fantastic airsoft replicas that have been released this year, and so it got us thinking. We were kind of talking about it in our office. We were talking like, hey, like, what exactly classifies nowadays in current year? What classifies an airsoft AEG? Specifically, I would say for like an AEG. You know, or even more specifically, as you can see, they're all M4 AEGs here, right? So like in that context, what classifies a high end?
Yes,
AEG?
what makes it high end? We even did polls
At what point?
as well. Yeah.
At what point does it become a high end?
We did polls on our YouTube communities. We did polls on our Discord server. What specific features do you, or things about high end, do you guys actually even care about? Taking it one step further.
Yeah. So that's probably what we're going to be talking about today. So why don't we just go over? Okay, so obviously I'm very hyped about the Gen 4s coming out.
Yes, I think we all
and,
are.
Yeah,
really.
and also MGC4 Mark 3.
MGC4 Mark 3?
Mark 3. Coming soon TM.
Yep.
Coming soon TM. But anyway, yeah. So I'm pretty hyped. We've been talking a lot with Lancer, and they're one of the very few companies that are actively very much communicative with us. But anyway,
not even just us, with also just the community.
Yeah, community in general. Yeah, but because it has come out recently, I just want to maybe like just go over some of the features and like would we classify this as a high-end AEG or not?
Would it be smart then at that point to then go over what we would consider like as the basis? Like what do we set as like the original?
So what I want to do first is just go over the features that come with and be like, okay, these are the features that come with, and then what like do you classify this as a high-end AEG or not, yes or no? And then we could talk about what qualifies as a high-end AEG. So Isaias, why don't you go ahead and pick up one of these brand new Lancer Tactical Gen 4s and show the people.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, all right, so Isaias is going to be my beautiful hand model today. Coming up nice and close and personal. Gonna show. Ooh, yeah, I love, first things first, full metal body, full metal construction. That's right, baby. They're bringing full metal back, and also the billet, the aggressive billet style receiver. Oh, I love what they did to it. It looks so aggressive. You got I believe they call this like the Predator M-Lock handguard, which is M-Lock pretty much all throughout. There's some Picatinny on the front and some on the rear. So I guess like if you're running longer optics, or if you want to run like the included flip-up sight, or on a laser unit like me, you have some Picatinny to do that. And then there's M-Lock across the top, actually. Majority of the handguard is going to be M-Lock, which is interesting. At first, I really didn't like it at first. I thought I was like, why would they do that? And then I realized that a lot of pressure switches for lasers and flashlights come with direct to M-lock mounts. So I tried doing that actually. I did put an M-lock, direct to M-lock pressure pad mount on it, and dude, it's so flush. It's so clean. But anyway, yeah, you got that, and then you got the included flip-up sights that are redesigned. They look so much cleaner now. They're so much slimmer. The old gen flip-up sights were an absolute pain to look at. So ugly. But now they look way cleaner. And then internally, first of all, it comes with the Nebula 2 ETU, which has like giga programming, like programming to the max. You could even adjust your trigger travel on that thing, which is insane. The trigger itself actually is also from Zion Arms. It's their, I don't know if it's like the Nebula trigger or something, but it is adjustable. You can actually mechanically adjust the backstop of the trigger, which is nice. And then you get the same Lancer goodies. You know, you're gonna get improved gear set. You get steel bushing. Steel bushings, I think, and then you get quick change spring system, 603 Type 4 inner barrel, rotary style hop-up unit, full metal rack piston. So pretty much like everything that you know and love about, let's say like the Gen 3, let's say, or dare I say even the MGC4, you're pretty much getting in the Gen 4. I will say though that they did come out with a 19K motor instead of a 25K motor because they wanted it to be more trigger response oriented. So the rate of fire isn't going to be as fast as, let's say, like the MGC4, but the trigger response is definitely there. It's definitely able to keep up with your trigger finger, which I think is nice. And let's be honest, like at this point in the airsoft market and the airsoft community, full auto is just a flex because 99% of airsoft fields do not allow you to go full auto anyway. But if they did, I honestly think that it's pretty smart to have an airsoft replica that has a moderate rate of fire, so that way when you do full auto someone, you're not going to piss a bunch of people off. You know, it's a very reasonable amount of full auto. So yeah, that's my spiel about the Gen 4. So that's what it comes with. So it's full metal. It has, you know, aesthetically it looks sleek, and then internally it has an ETU, some kind of like, you know, programming board on there. What else? And then it has some form of upgrade internals, mainly precision inner barrel, metal rack piston, and I believe they have steel gears as well. So
it's a pretty complete package, honestly. It's a very comprehensive list.
But let's talk about the price. Let's talk about the price real quick.
Yeah.
On the Nebula, because there's two versions of the Gen 4 actually.
Yeah, there's the Nebula version. It was originally called the Essential, but we're calling it the Standard. It'll even literally say on the title Nebula ETU 2. The Nebula versions start, I believe, at like the $290 price point.
What
if I'm not mistaken.
Frick? Okay.
Like it's pretty freaking low.
Yeah. It's under $300. Wait, so you're telling me one of these Gen 4 Predators are under $300?
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Here.
Wait, are you sure? Because I thought it was at least $300.
Are a little bit more.
No. The second version, I'm not talking about that right now. But I thought the Nebula 2 version was.
No, the Nebula 2s, I believe they're actually, maybe not all of them. I think there was one that goes over, like the really long one. Yeah. But the short ones, like, dude, like, yeah, they're incredibly cheap right now.
Holy moly. Okay. All right. Cool. That's good to know. But there is another version of the Gen 4 that is out right now, which is the
$295.
Yeah. That's
nuts. Crazy.
That's pretty nuts. And then the next version we're gonna be talking about is the Gate Aster version.
Before we get into that one, actually, I did want to ask a question though when it came to this, because we're doing back and forth on this. When it came to the Nebula version of the new Gen 4s, right? Even with that list, do you consider it though a high-end AEG? Considering the price point is incredibly affordable. It's definitely more of like a mid-tier price point.
Yeah. That's a very tough question to ask. I think if I didn't know the price, I held it in my hands and I shot it, and I like walked through all the programming modes on the ETU. Yeah, I would consider this a high-end AEG.
I think the thing that sells it for me as a high-end AEG, honestly, has probably got to be the ETU itself. Yeah. The Nebula already was a pretty dope ETU that you got out the box out of your Zion Arms, out of your MGC4, your Gen 3s. But I think just how much, I didn't realize how packed the Nebula 2 was. You were explaining it to me and showing it to me how insanely jam-packed with so many adjustable features.
I would say probably like my biggest gripe is like about the Nebula 2 is that it all has to be done on the trigger. It's a give and take. Yeah. So like personally for me, I don't program anything with my ETUs at all. But I would say like if I were someone who was like really into that, I kind of wish that like Zion Arms invested some more R&D into like coming out with like a Bluetooth app or something, or like even like a remote control, like G&G, they like for their high-end ETUs or whatever, they have remote control. So you just like remote control it and you press a button and then it'll do the thing.
Which is pretty cool.
Which is neat. Yeah, it's actually a very simplified way, because even for me, like for example, like with the Gate Titans and stuff or the Asters, I don't enjoy going to the app and connecting my ETU to the app. Like I don't like that at all. But yeah, that's like my only gripe. But the fact that the features that it has, yeah, I'd say it's pretty nuts. And but there is a part of me that wants to argue that this is not a high-end AEG. We'll get into that later. Sure. I do want to show off the Gate Aster version. Yeah. Isaiah's back at it again.
I'm being voluntold for more labor.
My beautiful hand model. Hey. I don't see color. Everything's black and white. I'm colorblind. Okay. All right. So visually, it will look a bit identical. So this is a shorter length, I believe. So this is like their CQB version. So all Gen 4s will come in the carbine, which is 13.5, I think. The SBR, which is what you saw earlier, it's 10.5, 10.5, and now this is the 8.5, I believe, which is the CQB. So it's gonna come with the same great Predator M-Lock handguard. Which it's really starting to grow on me. One thing interesting about the Gate Aster, I realized, Isaiah's pointed out to me, is the receiver set is slightly different, like aesthetically. It is, and by design, it's a little bit different. Yeah, you'll probably see from our main video coming out soon, because we are working on this. Yeah, there is a small engraving above the trigger saying like, powered by Gate or whatever. Yeah, but the only differences are internals are pretty much exactly identical. The only differences are going to be that you're going to get the Gate Quantum trigger out of the box. You're getting the Gate Aster, obviously, and then you're going to get Lancer Tactical's CNC hop-up unit, which is it's supposed to give you more precision and more fine-tuning when it comes to your hop-up adjustment, which is pretty sick. And yeah, so those are the two versions. So you can either buy one with the Nebula 2 ETU, or you can pay a little more for that Gate Aster Prestige, or the Clout, if you will. And then I'm not sure what the going price is on the Gate Asters, but I remember it being like a significant increase in price.
Yeah, right now the Gate Aster versions, they're gonna start at, they're starting at $359.
$359.
But even the most expensive version is only going to be $369 anyway.
Okay, yeah. So the Gate Aster version, I would say, like, again, if I didn't know the price originally, right, I held it in my hands, I shot it, I knew that it had a gate in it, I see the CNC hop-up unit in there, I would probably say, yeah, it's pretty, it's a high-end AEG. And then now that, let's say Isaiah tells me, oh yeah, it costs about $350, $360, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
That fits pretty much the categories of what we would consider, at least traditionally, as a high-end AEG. But I wonder if that has more to do with the fact that it's because it's Gate. I know, like, ETUs are ETUs really at the end of the day, but Gate has done a really good job at marketing themselves. And let's be real, like, anytime a manufacturer comes out with a newer, higher end version of what they probably have, like LCT, they're either going to go with, most of the time though, it's usually going to be a Gate Aster.
Yeah, but also just from an industry perspective, like Gate they're just a company that dedicates and focuses most of the time on making an ETU, so there's going to be a lot more R&D behind it, a lot more quality control behind it. I think a lot of airsoft companies, they kind of just figure it out or realize by saying like, hey, like, when we make our own in-house ETU, it's kind of a 50-50. Like either it's gonna do really well and it's gonna do what it's supposed to do, or like there are some design and flaw issues, and that's to be, I don't want to say expected, but like I'm not surprised, because hey, like you're asking an airsoft company who just make regular AEGs, and they're like, hey,
make your own ETU.
Can you make a computer chip? Like exactly different. Yeah. So it would make sense for a company like Gate, and they actually have been expanding their operations over the years, so their manufacturing capability, they're able to pump out way more
than they used to.
Way more ETUs than what they used to. So now it is cheaper and better for, let's say, like an airsoft company, for example, let's say like LCT or Email, right? They're a smaller shop, which they don't have the capability or the know-how to make their own ETU. So it just makes more sense for them to be like, hey, Gate, can we just buy like 100 of your Asters, and then they'll get that at like a discounted rate, they'll put it into their AEG, and then they can say, hey, comes out of the box.
Do you think that's something that, like, at least as far as what we can tell from like customers, buying habits and what they spend their money on, do you think it's going to become a trend now where, kind of like how with pistols, right, where it's a requirement for them to have an optic blade or be optic ready? Do you think for AEG's sake that in the future it's going to be a requirement that they have a gate aster at minimum installed? Because what you're saying with the in-house ETU, you're right. I think it might be a little bit less than 50-50. I think it's like more than likely to not do as well, because a lot of the in-house ETUs I've seen, or when they come out, they got some problems. At least they're not like what I would expect.
Like I said, 50-50.
Sure.
It's 50-50.
But do you think that would be the standard then?
Well, I think yeah, I think as time goes on, it will become more standardized.
Right.
Yeah, I think so. Just because, in my opinion, I think the AEG itself, we're kind of at its maximum limit as to like what new things, right, can we innovate or invent. And usually over the years, when companies will try to reinvent the wheel with the AEG, the airsoft community rejects it, and these companies get punished heavily for daring to innovate. So everybody wants the version 2 gearbox, Tokyo Marine compatible, so everyone is confined to those limits. So the only way up now is just to include more out of the box. Yeah, and it's going to get cheaper. So I think, over the years, as Gate continues to make gate asters, as they continue to collaborate with other companies, I think, and as the asters continue to sell, they will continue to lower in price. And then more and more companies will just be like, hey, we need an ETU in our replicas in order to sell them and market them. So, we're just going to go with Gate.
Now I'm just wondering how long it's going to be until we see like models coming out pre-installed with Gate asters that are going to be sub $200. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
that is interesting.
Right?
That's actually a very interesting idea. I wonder who's going to be the first to do it. But I definitely think that it's going to happen at some point. Well, honestly though, but also like just with inflation over time, inflation will be a thing because we operate off of a fiat currency. Not to get political, but So over time, the value of our dollar will go down, and so probably at some point there will be an AEG, like a starter AEG with the gate aster that will
and everything.
that will cost the equivalent of what $200 would be today.
Yeah.
That's
something that we would consider an affordable price point now would just have everything that you would see here just in a poly body. Imagine.
But let me ask you, Isaias. So, I don't know if I got a clear answer from you, but do you think that Lancer Gen 4, the Nebula 2 version, would you say that's a high-end AEG?
I would say that both the Nebula version specifically, I consider them both high-ends.
Okay.
I consider them both high-end. Even the Nebula, I know that the Nebula is not as, I'll say, revered or as widely used, at the very least, as say like the Gate Aster. I think just the sheer amount of features that you get out of the Nebula 2, the rework that went into it, designing it, I think there's just too much to ignore for me to classify it as anything other than a high end.
Yeah, I would say the Nebula is a hidden gem of an ETU. I think, because Zion, like they are a small shop, they are a small company overseas, and I believe that's like one of their first products they ever made was just an ETU.
It was just an ETU. And they paired it with their PW9s.
Yeah, well, eventually at some point Zion was like, hey, our ETUs aren't selling very quickly.
You want to make a gun with it?
yeah, exactly. So they're like, you know what? Why don't we just put into an AEG and see what happens? And then I think once they started bringing those in, or I think when Lancer decided to distribute them.
They were distributing them.
Yeah, they were distributing Zion arms. They were like, hey, these ETUs are good. And so they got in contact with Zion. I was like, hey, would you like to put this on our Gen 3? And I think that's what...
Match made in heaven.
Yeah. So during that process where they're importing the PW9, they basically were like, hey, we'll buy a ton of your ETUs
to
put them
in.
Yeah. So ironically, the Gen 3 came out before the PW9s got imported into the US,
which is so funny to me.
Yeah. But anyway, I think the people who do use the Nebula ETU, like, they do love it. I've received very, very few complaints.
Yeah, same.
Over my time. I've seen very, very few complaints.
I'm getting more and more questions now, honestly. Like even in storefront where people ask like, hey, you know, they're contemplating actually putting it in their own current builds and everything, which, hey, you know, it is a viable option for sure. It's simple. It's very easy to use.
Yeah.
And again, at the time of this podcast coming out, the Nebula 2 is not out yet in terms of just on its own, but I'm sure given enough time, it'll come out eventually.
Yeah, we're going to need more time, obviously, to receive everyone's feedback to those who are using the Gen 4. But not to get sidetracked. Sure. Back on the main topic, Isaias, I just want to ask you, what do you think qualifies as a high-end AEG? What do you look for?
If I'm looking at a high-end AEG, usually this doesn't have to be a for sure thing. I'm pretty forgiving and I'm pretty loose with my definition, but typically I am looking for a full metal receiver, right? I am looking for programming features. Basically, tons of features is what I'm looking for at the end of the day. It can come in a variety of different things, whether it be an ETU or a MOSFET that offers a lot of programming options. I'm looking for build quality as well. Just because it is metal doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be high end as well, right? It needs to be a really well put together AEG. I want the gearbox, you know, to be pretty durable in terms of its components that it's using. I don't want it to be using the same standard parts that, say, their like beginner lines would end up using. You know what I mean? Like if a company has a beginner option or affordable lineup, I want the internals to be different from that. Because I don't want to just solely pay for just an ETU, or I don't want to pay solely for a metal body. If it has those things, then I'm pretty much happy with it, regardless of what price point it might be at. Typically.
Okay, so to summarize, it needs to be full metal.
Generally, yes.
It needs to be full metal. It needs to have an ETU of some kind, and then it needs to have a step up in internal quality compared to the company's like starter options. Okay,
those are typically like my three big things.
All right, so for me, I would agree with you. Full metal. That's the first thing I look for. Is a replica full metal or not? Obviously, there are some replicas out there that are replicating a real life firearm that is not full metal. I can understand that, but I'm just saying for the context of the M4, it is full metal. It has to be full metal. Okay, if it comes with a polymer body or a polymer like handguard when it's supposed to be metal, I'm instantly like, I don't know if I would consider this a high end.
Kind of a disqualification, really.
Yeah, and then number two, as much as I dislike ETUs, I would say like an ETU or some I would classify an ETU as like a gimmick, like some gimmick. Like for example, like KWA, I'm just bringing them up as an example.
They're switch left extenders, man.
Yeah, but that's not an ETU. But you know, like they have like recoil, right? Electric recoil, that's a gimmick, right? Or adjustable FPS, like on the fly with like the little tool thing, right? That's a gimmick. So I will accept that in place of, let's say, like an ETU. You know, like some like flashy bell and whistle that allows you to do something special, which I believe ETU fits that definition. And then I would also say the next thing would be. What else? What else am I looking for? I would say
some people's like definitions too. Some of the things they were looking for was pretty out there. Like needs to have a functioning bolt catch. Is that
functioning bolt catch?
I think that's more of a gimmick in my eyes than anything.
Well, actually, I would almost agree. Yeah, I mean it is a very small thing. But I wouldn't say not having a functioning bolt catch would disqualify. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm looking for defining things.
Sure.
So. And then I would just say, like, in a loose definition, like pre-upgraded parts.
Okay.
Of some sort, of some kind. You know, like it's like what you said, right? It's a step above, let's say, a budget line, airsoft replica. But like I want the replica to already have been doing some form of upgrading for me, right? It doesn't have to be everything.
No, of course.
It just has to be something.
The performance has to be like competitive to what's currently out there.
Yeah, exactly. And then I would say my final thing that I'm looking at is the finish. Yeah, because not all I guess you would say like metal airsoft replicas are created the same.
Definitely not.
Yeah. So the finish, there has to be a certain level of like finish. Like is everything put together? in like a high-end, way, like the aesthetically, does it look high-end? Like I'm a very big aesthetics guy.
Of course.
So I mean that's like my whole job. So yeah.
This is what he gets paid for.
Yeah, so that is something that I do look for. So yeah, but in front of us here today are a decent amount of contested. Is it a high-end? Is it not high-end? We'll talk. We're gonna be talking about that. Yeah. But actually no, I take that back. Not finished. Final thing is price. It has to be priced like a high-end.
Do you think then that well, that's interesting then.
Yeah.
Okay, because for me, and Cisco and I usually agree on this as well. Nowadays, right? I would say it was different like 4 years ago, but nowadays, usually a high-end price point for us is usually anything $350 or higher. Anything less than
now it's gone up to like $400.
You could argue that too. You could argue that too.
I don't think there's very many airsoft replicas out there today that like perform or like exist in that high-end space for less than or at $350 anymore. I think just like the cost of shipping, materials, labor, inflation. I think that $350 mark has moved up now to about $400.
That's fair. You can make that argument easy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, like for example, like pre-pandemic, you were able to, let's say for example, buy an Elite Force HK416A5, right, for around that $400-ish, $450 price point, $450, and that's a very expensive high-end airsoft replica.
That was expensive even then.
And now, if you go to airsoftgi.com right now, which we are selling at the minimum price allowed. Like if we cut the price anymore, Elite Force would not allow us to do it. So we sell, was it map pricing is what it's called? So right now, minimum, I believe the same model, the HK416A5, nothing has changed to it. It now costs about $500. I want to say like $520 last time I checked, something like that. So it's in the 500.
It's in the 500 realm.
Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying. So like from $450 to around $500. That's like a $50 increase. So that's why I'm doing like the $400 price point. So for example, the Nebula 2 Gen 4, it's under $300.
Yeah. So that's what I was wondering. Yeah. You were saying that that's something that you're looking for pricing as well. So does that disqualify it then as a high end for you? Yeah.
So like I'm saying, like there is a bit of a conflict in my mind because like when I'm shooting it on semi-auto, when I'm spamming the trigger, when I'm programming the ETU, when I was playing with it and I was holding it in my hands, it definitely does feel like a higher end AEG. It feels something more akin to, let's say, like the MGC4. Which is supposed to be like the high-end AEG killer. Like that's what we're trying to make here.
It's killer app, yeah.
Yeah, which is like like I think the Gen 4 is also trying to do, but the price tag, like when I heard the price tag and I was like, oh, it's under $300. Now I'm thinking, okay, so it's like it's more in line of like a mid-range AEG, just on price alone. Sure. So like just my brain just associates it, not as high-end because it's not priced that way.
I think that's just also a testament to like how the level of quality has gotten so much better in terms of what it is that you're getting now. Prices have gone. I mean, granted, it doesn't take much to reason.
But this is a test. Yeah, but this actually proves my theory is that eventually airsoft, you're gonna get more for less. Yeah. So you're gonna get more features that you would normally have to do aftermarket on your own, or you have to buy like crazy expensive parts to do. And now a lot of airsoft companies are learning and figuring out how to do that already for you out of the box, and then the price will be cheaper because of that. So yeah, that is my theory, and the Gen 4, in my opinion, is proving that theory. But we're gonna run through a whole gamut. Today, but we're gonna start with the one that started it all. This is the Classic Army LS12 Isaias.
I love how you are. I kept trying to get a word in so I could try to talk about one, and then you're like, let me do this, and then you have to get up. This is
Isaias, my beautiful hand model.
Shut up.
Isaias, my beautiful hand model, my favorite, the Classic Army Nemesis LS12. I think this is what really started the trend. Obviously, it could be argued that Crytek also has been the one to do it in the past, and I would agree with you, but I would say they have since fallen far behind as far as their internal quality and everything that comes with it out of the box goes. So that's why we chose the Nemesis LS12. Look at the beautiful bronze fit. Oh, the M-Lock rail. Oh man, when did this thing come out? Come out like what, 2015? 2016? 2017? Man, dude. How many years is that? 7 years. 7 years, and it's still holding up, still going strong. I'm still to this day very, very satisfied with the LS12 performance out of the box. Beautiful. Billet style receiver as well. looking mighty clean, mighty fine. Yeah. All right. We're going to put that back now. So the LS12, feature-wise, it comes with a 6.03 Type 4 inner barrel. So already upgrade parts right straight from the factory.
Rotary cell hop chamber.
Rotary saw hop-up chamber. That's
quick
right.
change spring system.
Quick change spring.
And of course, what Nemesis would be complete without the ECS programmable trigger unit.
That's right. The ECS. So the reason why I say this is probably one of like the first AEGs to do it and not Crytek is that it's programmable.
Yeah.
Right? The Crytek just had a basic MOSFET. It's like, hey, you could safely run in a level 1 light, but long term, not worry about it. That's as far as it went. But Classic Army was like, no. Hold on. You get burst mode. You get semi-lock. You get, I think that's about it, right?
Burst mode is 3-round burst, 5-round burst, semi-lock, and yeah, that was it.
Okay.
But even then, when it came out at the time, because it didn't only get released in the Nemesis line, it was also put in their skirmish lineup.
Yep.
Like that was crazy.
Yeah,
they were offering all
crazy.
that.
Yes. Yeah. So that programmable ETU, fantastic. And then I believe you got like a 30K motor. So, like it is a bit on the speedier side.
Actually, even then too, another thing that was slept on as well was the fact that the trigger was also like adjustable as well. The amount of trigger mods that were done specifically for the Nemesis, that was a growing trend for a while. That when people get a Nemesis, the hair trigger mod that you could do with these was insane.
Yeah. And so I think this is a model that's like often forgotten about just because there's so many other airsoft manufacturers that kind of copied the LS12 formula, and I believe like is it today like it's still relatively affordable. It's like under $400.
It's still under $400.
Under $400. Still.
And there's several Nemesis models that are.
Yeah. So I would say like if you for some reason, if you really don't want a Gen 4, if you really don't want an MGC4, if you really don't want a Specna, I would say the Classic Army LS12 is definitely, it's been really slept on. I would highly recommend it. Yeah,
it is kind of amazing that 7 years later, and this thing is still like,
it's still rocking.
It's still rocking just fine. It looks, it works great. It looks good too.
Yeah, so to me, this still meets the standards. I think it still definitely fits my definition of like what makes a high-end AEG. And then on top of that, I say, do you know if this has a functioning bolt catch?
So this one's kind of interesting.
Let me check.
It kind of is. Let's see here.
Oh, so you have to like hold the bolt catch open. Oh, okay, so it's like a half. It's like a half.
It does work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Interesting. And then this also does have ambidextrous magazine release, and then ambidextrous bolt catch. I think, does this even work? I don't think this works. It's just there for aesthetics.
Selector though.
But the selector is ambi, and the magazine release is ambi. So having ambi controls also a bonus. So yeah, like I said, through and through, I think this is definitely like the quintessential high-end AEG.
Dare I say this is like the predecessor for what was to come for many, many, many years after, even to this day.
Yeah. All right, and then let's talk about the other new hotness. Let's talk about the Specna
Prime. You want to show that off, boys?
Oh, of course, yeah. It's my turn to be the hand model.
My arm was getting really tired there. But yeah, the Specna Prime series. These came out, and these are also now available at Airsoft GI. Like we've been saying, full metal construction throughout. This one is going to be using just a standard forged receiver, if I'm not mistaken, not billet this time. However, still looks pretty damn cool. These are going to be using a lot of the same designs from their Edge series, their Edge 2.0 lineup, but again with the updated internals, which are going to include a new 16:1 gear set. They believe they call it the Dark Matter brushless motor, which is pretty dang crazy. It's pretty cool. Have our opinions, of course, on brushless motors, but still very nice that they included it. And of course, you are getting the HAL, or HALETU, and of course, 603 Type 4 inner barrel, rotary hop chamber, quick change spring system. You get the works on this bad boy. All right, boys, you can come back. Yeah, they saw it. But yeah, these are going to be pretty interesting as well. I've gotten some trigger time actually with these, and I've gotten to do a little bit of a trigger sensitivity testing, just stock without messing with the HAL ETU at all. And honestly, it does shoot very much like a high-end airsoft gun, for like something that was actually upgraded. There's obviously, there's a difference between what I like to think the higher quality, out-the-box shooting performance that you get out of an airsoft gun, and then there's like upgraded, like you go to like a good tech that knows what he's doing. Shooting the Prime series feels like you're shooting like an actual like one-of-one custom. It feels so good to put rounds down range on this bad boy, but there's a bit of a cost with it. It is going to be a little bit more expensive. I think if we were to comparing the price, it's about $120 difference. These guys are going to be in the $400 range.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be in the $400 range, which is a little much. It does make sense what it is that you are spending your money for, because again, brushless motor out the box. I know you have your opinions on brushless motors. I know sometimes, I don't know, could you consider that more of a gimmick more than anything?
It is gimmick. It's a marketing ploy. So I'm just going to say it right now. It is a marketing ploy. Not to say that brushless motors are bad. I'm just saying, like, it's just a term to throw around, you know, to be like, hey, let's throw a brushless motor in there, and then let's just say like the brushless motor is like really good. So it's just another way to kind of like for a company to be like, hey, we did this new thing that's trendy, you know, like please buy it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I have not gotten any trigger time on the Prime, unfortunately, but what I can say is I've tried other brushless motors in the past before, and I would say, like, personally for me, like, unless you're doing like a really specialized build, I think brushless motors and conventional motors, it doesn't really make a huge difference between which one you pick.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I would honestly agree to that as well. Now, with that being said, the motor they did pick, regardless of it being brushed or not, it actually works very well.
Yeah, it still is an upgraded part out of the box.
Yeah.
You know, like if, let's say, for example, if someone if they desired a brushless motor, you know, the identical performing brushless motor to their conventional motor, you know, and they would go out and buy a brushless motor. Yeah. Right? Yeah, this is an upgrade part.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
this definitely feels and meets, like, literally checks off all the boxes that we would need to in order for it to fit the definition of a high-end gun. And for me, because I got to shoot it, I will definitely say 100% that this is for sure a high-end AEG. It feels like it. There's not too many other guns that I'm being honest, there's not too many guns out the box that really shoot that nice. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of giving the MGC4 a little bit of a run for its money, but again, the higher price point and the fact that it's not a billet receiver.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, like aesthetically, personally, the Prime is not my favorite. You know, like, I think this is just like they're copying, or they're continuing on with the Rock River Arms license that they have.
Some of them are going to be Rock River Arms receivers.
Some of them are not. Oh yeah, that's true. But you know, like, I just kind of wish they came out with like a newer, fresher design. You know, it just seems like a more of a continuation of their existing Edge 2.0.
Yeah, they're literally redoing a lot of the same bodies and just putting it in the Prime line.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, so some people really love the Specna like aesthetic, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, like, personally for me, like, I'm more of like the classic Army LS12 kind of guy. So that's just like my aesthetic taste. But yeah, I think it checks all the boxes. It's very reasonably priced for the performance that you're getting out of the box. And I think that, like, again, like, you could spend the same amount of money on other platforms, and I think that you could still get the same performance, in my opinion.
No, I would agree to that. It's funny that you mentioned the Rock River Arms licensing, because that was another thing too that was we asked people as well during the polls is licensing, like having an officially licensed replica, something that is important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we actually have one here. I'll show it up on camera that you can talk
about.
But
it is interesting, just like historically with Airsoft, you know, we associate a licensed product as a high quality replica. And I think it's also due in part because when an airsoft company approaches a real firearms company, they basically, probably part of the deal is, hey, you have to make us, the firearms company, look good. This is advertising for us, so you have to make it look good. So I think in the past, a lot of these officially licensed replicas, companies had to work really hard to come up with a high quality replica. So I think now, depending on the company, I think a lot of firearms manufacturers are more okay and more tolerant with licensing. So I think there can be, I think, you could just get something cheap and put a license on it and call it a day. But this one is the PTS ZEV Core Elite Series M4, fully licensed by, obviously, ZEV Technologies. I personally, man, I think it looks super clean. I really love. I'm not the one for like accent colors too much, but I really dig the bronze barrel that it comes with out of the box. I think it looks super sick. A little bit of a snug fit here, but you get the EPM1 magazine straight out of the box, which is great. And then you get the PTS motor grip and the PTS stock, which is extra value, which is cool. I love seeing that. PTS and KWA, they're the only two companies that give you PTS accessories straight out of the box. And then you get I believe you get the ZEV trigger as well on there, which is pretty sick. Internally, it's going to be the SEMA Platinum gearbox, I believe, which is it's alright. It does have the ETU in there. I don't think it's programmable though.
So it does have an ETU, right? But it is going to be. Here's the thing, guys. Okay, let's full disclaimer. We can't win whenever we talk about the SEMA Platinum, right? Before we used to have maybe some negative opinions about it, and when
that's not true. No, that's not true. They were the internet was telling us no. We only like the SEMA Platinum with 13-to-1 gears.
No, it was only after. It was only after that happened. Because before it was, we didn't like the SEMA Platinum. Everyone defends the SEMA Platinum. Cool. How about this? We'll start carrying, like what was the Echo 1 BTS?
Yeah.
Yes, that was a SEMA Platinum. It's a SEMA Platinum OEM. We mentioned that, and everyone starts, no, why would you go with the SEMA Platinum? It's like, why? And then of course, when we asked them to elaborate, they only liked the one with the 13-to-1 gears.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the internal components that people seem to care about.
Yeah, I don't know. But the ETU, to my knowledge, doesn't seem like it's programmable. And then I'm not even sure. I think it does come with the Type 4 inner barrel, 603 inner barrel.
It does. My biggest issue, or actually, might not. I'd have to double check that on the ZEV, but the biggest complaint that I had was actually, and it does technically speaking click and check off all the boxes. Here's the thing. It checks all the boxes, but even then, this is actually one of those guns that I would say, on semi works fine, but if you're doing anything other than semi, and even then, if you're really trying to push the trigger past like its limits, because it does have a limiter. Yeah. That's the downside about it. It has a very big limiter. It's very evident.
What's weird is that the ZEV Core Elite, it rips in full auto. Yeah. Full auto rate of fire is good.
Mm-hmm. It's healthy. Very healthy.
Too bad you can't use it in most airsoft fields. Mm-hmm. But in semi, where it counts for a lot of airsoft players, there is some kind of weird limiter thing, or actually when I was shooting it, I pointed out that the trigger itself actually engages at the very back. So as long as you take up all that pre-travel and just almost hit the wall, you can actually really start to spam that thing and it'll get up there. But I just kind of wish that they didn't make that a feature. But it is licensed.
That's the thing. It is officially licensed.
Yeah,
too.
which is cool. But I think the price point was what,
it was starting three,
high 300s.
Yeah,
right? High 300s. Yeah. So would I consider the PTS ZEV to be a high-end AEG? Now, this might surprise you, but I would immediately when I look at it, I would say yes. Is it a good high-end AEG? Is it something that I would always recommend and say, oh, you should get this? You get probably not, unless you're willing to do some serious work to it, changing out the ETU.
That honestly, just changing out the ETU
actually
might make a world of difference.
Put the Nebula 2 in there.
There you go. That's an idea.
Easy fix. Yeah.
It's just a shame because it's such a good-looking gun.
It feels great in the hands. It feels super solid. It looks super clean. The licensing, icing on the cake for me.
It looks so good. Yeah. PTS does always a fantastic job with that.
Yeah. So I think just the build quality, it's there, which is why, and even the pricing, it's there. But
it could have been worse.
Yeah. But I just think that the ETU is definitely holding them back. Even with freaking VFC.
Yeah, that's true.
For a while, people would have those ETUs burn out, and so they would always just spend more money to, put on a Titan. But I would say everywhere else though on VFC, it is definitely high end in all other aspects. But we have one more to show you.
One more
to show you today. And that is going to be from the internet's favorite company right now, alongside Specna, because they are a startup. They're an airsoft startup company. Arcturus, with their collaboration with Gate, we're talking about the Trinity AEG. I know a lot of people are talking about the HPA. I don't know why people just love HPA, but they also have a AEG version, which I think is it really scares me. It terrifies me to see that an airsoft replica out of the box can shoot this fantastic out of the box. I don't think that thing has a functioning bull catch, but that's fine because this guy is an absolute monster under the hood. I wish I knew the specs. Just go to airsoftgi.com. We list out all the specs in there, obviously, but let me tell you, this thing absolutely tears it up on the field. Holy moly. Like, I believe that one has the Titan 2 in it already. So you're getting a pinnacle ETU out of the box. And then I believe the gearbox also entirely is just made by Gate. So yeah, Gate did an absolutely amazing job. And then I believe Arcturus made most of the external components. And then they also did the hop-up unit, inner barrel, and bucking, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, but Arcturus' inner barrels are no joke. They're made out of steel, 6.02. They're QPQ nitroflon coated, so it's gonna be super smooth when your BBs are flying through that thing. And the bucking is pretty good as well. Personally, for me, I would go with a unicorn bucking, but you know, that's with every airsoft replica. So yeah, again, absolutely monster out of the box, full metal construction. You're getting tons of upgrade parts out of the box. So and the price is definitely well justified. I believe it's sitting somewhere in the $500 range.
Which, don't get us wrong, it is indeed expensive, but it does make sense when you do a breakdown of everything.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like when I was shooting this, I'm like, dude, this feels like our Storm Custom. Yeah, our Storm Custom.
It feels like an actual custom built AEG by like crafted by an actual tech.
100%. Yeah. So like the trigger response was insane. Like you sneeze, it goes off. You know, you could spam that thing to hell and back. Like I with my trigger finger, I could not outrun the gun. Yeah, and just by spamming it like crazy, I could tell just like. You could do more. It could you know,
there's definitely more it's
keep
capable
up
of.
And then do more. Yeah, the full auto fire rate was, again, like at this point, full auto is just kind of a flex to your friends, but yeah, hey, it's flexing good. So like I said, like after shooting that thing, I was like, oh man, dude, like what do we do about our Storm line? Is anyone gonna like care about our custom Storm line anymore? Because it's cheaper than the Storm.
Technically speaking, it is.
And to me, in my opinion, like I think it performs just about the same. Yeah, so definitely, I think. It earns its place. It earns its place in the high tier AEG. Yeah,
most definitely, especially with all the features that you are getting out the box. Yeah. I mean, we've said it before, right? Where especially when the fact that it's using a Gate gearbox as well. That's something that you would spend premium money to have done. You know, extra by a tech to have to do. You'd have to spend so much money to have that done. Versus, hey, it's technically speaking cheaper if you go with this route because it's already pre-installed for you and it works fantastic right out the gate. Yeah.
So I think with a Storm Custom, right? Like let's say like if you were to buy the parts individually and then work on it yourself, obviously because you're not hiring a tech to do it, I think it will roughly cost around the same as the Gate Trinity or the Arcturus Trinity. But you know,
the convenience of it
the convenience, it's already just there. You know, you just fork over a few extra bucks and you get out of the box. That's insane. But to come full circle here, right? Like we're talking about all these other replicas here that are like what we call like truly high end. How does a Gen 4 stack up against that? Like I'm still trying to like wrap my mind around it because Lancer themselves are telling us, hey, like this is high end, you know, like this is our first like high end AEG that we're like mass producing. And you know, at the price like under $300, I'm like, my mind just keeps telling me, no, this is just like a really good like mid-tier AEG that's like trying to make its way up into the high end. So like how do we
how does it stack?
Yeah, how does it stack? Like how does this exist in the high end?
In my mind, and again, everyone's feel free to have their own opinions about this, but in my mind, personally, if I'm looking at at least the ones that are compared here, right, the ones that we have available right to us on the table, I would say that at the bottom of my list, if I had to put like an imaginary tier list for a second, the very bottom of my list, not saying that it's a bad gun, but I would put the Zev at the bottom. Right, I put the Zev at the bottom because, again, that ETU just really holds it back. Right, everything else is great. It's just that ETU really does put a number on it. Above that, then I would put maybe, I think tanks being, if we're just going based on performance alone, not even including price, I would put the Nebula right above that. I'd put the Nebula right above that. just because actually even then I would actually say the Classic Army would go under that one, would go on top of the Zev, and then it would be the Gen 4 with the Nebula, because the amount of features that you get with that newly designed Nebula 2 is just absolutely wild to me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think there's so much untapped potential there with the Nebula 2. Yeah,
I know. I know a lot of people too have this sentiment, and I'm kind of in the same boat where it's like, if I'm already spending, high-end dollars for a high-end AEG, why should I spend more in upgrades?
On upgrades, yeah, that's true.
That's another point too. And while I think the Classic Army definitely is one of those options where it's like you don't really need to put anything into it. You could say the same thing about the Gen 4s, but even then, you could say that about pretty much any of these models here. What upgrade specs you're running at right now could always be changed.
But I think the only two AEGs here on this list, or on this spread over here, that doesn't need anything at all out of the box is the Trinity and the Prime. But that's about it.
But you are spending a lot more for it, for sure.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, they're kind of like closer to like the pinnacle, like high end, like before you start bleeding into like customs.
Yes, exactly.
So the Gen 4, I would agree with you. The ranking, I would say, like PTS, I think their external build quality, arguably, I think it's better than a lot of the AEGs already here.
I would say if we're going based solely on looks, 100% goes to the PTS.
Build quality, feel in the hands, right? It's so nice. But I guess it's kind of an easy fix if you hire tech, if you know how to work on an Airsoft M4 yourself. Just yeet out the ET that it comes with, and then put in a Gate Aster, or even a Nebula 1, honestly. Because I think this is still running 18-to-1 gears. So you could just put in the gear that Nebula gives you, or Zion Arms gives you out of the box, and boom, already you're off to the races. I would say for the Gen 4, the ETU is not the problem. The ETU is insane. I think the fact that Zion Arms were able to, I guess that kind of explains why they've gone on for so long without releasing new stuff. I guess they're just concentrating on making the Nebula 2. But
I think it's just the motor, honestly, that I think.
It's the motor. I would definitely put a higher quality 25K minimum, probably to 25K, and then unicorn inner barrel and bucking, obviously.
But you could do that for L. It's maybe not the Arcturus.
I would do that to everything else. But anyway, the unicorn inner barrel bucking, 25K, a good quality one. I would say at that point, I think cumulatively you're probably spending about closer to 350, I would say. And then honestly after that, I would have no complaints. I would actually be really happy with this.
And I think that's something that I think the Gen 4 does better than most of the other models here, is that it really does open up the door for a lot of maybe newer players, or players that are trying to get their foot into the high end realm, but want something that's going to be still affordable. This definitely makes it easier.
So maybe I can say I think what sits more comfortably in my head is that the Gen 4 is it's the DIY high-end AEG, So for example, you get this guy for under $300. You find a model under $300, right? You don't need to change out the body. You don't need to change out the rail system or the outer barrel or any of the external components. You don't really need to, right? But internally, because the Nebula 2 is in there, right? It's an optical ETU, so you're not locked into an 18-to-1 gear set. So you want to do 13-to-1 gears, crazy motor, you want to really take this guy to the moon and back with upgrades, right? You can do that because just getting the platform itself is so affordable.
Hell, I think even getting a Gen 4 like this, especially one that's going to be under $300, and then slapping in just a new motor and a gear set, that alone, just making sure it's installed correctly and proper shimming, you can have this thing be an absolute monster, and it'll still be more affordable than the Prime series from Specna.
I would agree so. I would agree with you on that. But I'm pretty. I don't want to say I'm nervous, but I am kind of looking forward to, or I'm just very curious as to see how the community
is going to react to these.
Will receive the Gen 4, because Lancer's been hyping it up for a while. They've
been getting a ton of questions.
So I think there are a lot of people waiting, and I think there has been a lot of expectation, obviously. So I really want to know. I really want to know what the community thinks about that, especially at the price point that it's being offered at, under $300, and you're getting a full metal. which is pretty nutty in my opinion. So I wonder what that means for the MGC4, man. Like really.
I mean, for me, if I had to compare the two, I would still, maybe a little biased, but I would still go for the MGC4.
Really?
Just in sheer
I go with the Gen 4. I'll go with the Gen 4 in a heartbeat. Yeah, I would probably get the Gen 4 motor, barrel and bucking. That's it. And then I honestly, like, I love the redesign aesthetic.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, but you guys, let us know in the comment section what it is which of these models you prefer. Which one do you think is the coolest? And what do you think about the Gen 4s as a whole? We're actually very curious to see what the entire airsoft community thinks about the long-awaited Gen 4s and what their overall reception is going to be.
And keep your eyes peeled because we will be doing a full-length review on the Gen 4.
Oh yeah.
Everything we like, everything we dislike. You know how we do it. We like to give our opinions on things and keep it honest with you guys.
Keep it raw.
Yeah. So other than that, if you guys like what you're seeing, if you want to see more episodes of Deadbox Podcast, please make sure to hit the like button down below, as well as hit the subscribe button and ring that bell icon to get notified every time we upload a new video or a podcast.
And if you guys want to continue supporting the channel, make sure to get all your orders, get all your airsoft goodies through airsoftgi.com. Remember, any orders $179 or more automatically qualify for free shipping, and if it's $20 or more, you are automatically entered into the next live stream giveaway.
Yep, and all the airsoft replicas that you see here right now on the table are available right now at airsoftgi.com. And make sure to check the website regularly because we also do a ton of flash discounts where we just deeply discount a lot of items, for a very limited time. So time is of the essence. So please make sure to check the Airsoft Geo website regularly.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for the Deadbox Podcast. My name is Isaias
and Boaz.
Catch you on the next one, guys. Take it easy.